And today we're going to be talking about undertiredness. Undertiredness is a common occurrence in babies and you may not have even really heard of it. It often gets mistaken for overtiredness, in fact, because it exhibits, in a baby, they exhibit the very similar signs that they'll be resisting naps, they'll be resisting you and crying potentially. You may end up rocking them to sleep or patting them to sleep or bringing in a few different sleep props just to try and get them to sleep when in fact they actually weren't ready to go to sleep in the first place because they just weren't tired. And unfortunately, undertiredness or overtiredness can both be the reason that we end up rocking the baby to sleep or feeding the baby to sleep. So undertiredness can look like the baby is resisting naps, fighting you. In toddlers, they'll be mucking around, they'll be potentially even crying when you put them into their bed, just again because they're just not tired. So the things that you can do are make sure that their naps are age appropriate and that the awake windows are also age appropriate, and that we don't get stuck into well, they were doing that before, and they're comfortable doing those naps before and not realizing that the baby is now actually a couple of months older. They actually don't need to be napping what they were doing before. This is especially important in the first 12 weeks of the baby's life because a lot of advice out there says that the baby can only be awake for an hour at a time. Yep, absolutely right, for the first very few weeks of their life. But that doesn't mean that once the baby's 8, 12 weeks old that they can only stay awake for an hour at a time. So our sleep programs work through that, and our sleep programs advise you around the maximum amount of wake time for your baby's age, and if they need to go to sleep earlier than that, perfect, that's fine. And making sure that your baby is actually ready to go to sleep. They will fall asleep easily and naturally when they are ready to. So make sure you don't get trapped in the undertired cycle.